Hi friends, and welcome back into my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So I'm going to start out today with some updates on my hometown holiday sampler. And this was quilt along with the Fat Quarters shop the end of last year, and I am still trucking along. So I this week finished the outer trees, which are these two out here, and let me show you those real quick. These were probably the easiest of the tree blocks, if you remember the ones. Actually, I'll show you some of the others in just a minute, but just your star at the top. So those are flying geese units. Those are kind of small, but you know, a typical star with your flying geese units around the edges. And then this was just easy corner triangles on those pieces, easy corner triangles on either side of the trunk, and it went together really quick. So two of these, those are the outer trees, and I did go ahead and start putting some of the pieces together. I still have some letters to do, but I was just getting anxious of seeing this whole thing coming together. And now that I've gotten all of the trees done, I wanted to start putting it together. So this is kind of big. I'm gonna have to show it in sections, I guess. But let's start with the house. You've seen the house before, but then on either side of the trees, I'll just scoot it down, either side of the trees. Either side of the house are your inner trees. And those were a little fussy just because you had so many different fabrics, and just making sure I had it going the right way. I mean, nothing difficult, but just make sure you have it going the right direction. All right, and then let me slide it this way. I have the inner tree on the other side, and then I went ahead and started doing some on the others. All right, so then this is the middle tree. Now the middle tree has 3 of these star blocks across the top, and these were the very first thing that was made. And so I'm just following the same colorway that's on the pattern, and just looking at the pattern front to figure out which one of those stars to put. Figure Lori's planned it out all out. I'm not going to switch things up. So her colorways are just perfect. So you add these 3. You do add just some side sashings on either side of this tree, and then you add the 3 stars across the top. And then next is the outer tree, the one that I just did. Now, is there something? No, I mean the outer tree is next. So this will go right here. Right like that. How cute is that? I like that. I like that you have the 2 yellow stars, the larger ones on either side, and then you switch up and do those twinkle stars in the middle. Very fun. And then on the outside edge there are some of the other blocks that we've already finished. You can see these right here. So when I went, so I've done this whole side. Not the whole side, but I've started putting those on. When I went to do this, I was going to add the middle tree as well, and then realized a couple of these twinkle blocks are ones that I hadn't finished yet. Imagine that. So when I'd done the original twinkle, twinkle holiday blocks, I had checked off all but 4. And the 3 that I wanted to add were 3 of those 4 that I had not finished yet. So I didn't get those added on to there yet, but that will be very soon. I still have my holly blocks to finish. I haven't finished all those, and then some more of my letters. I just love the way this is coming together. It's just so pretty. You know, a lot of times you can see a pattern and it's really pretty, but then once you really start putting it together, oh, I forgot to mention that there was grass across the bottom of the house. So you join the 2 inner trees to the house, and then you put a grass portion all underneath that bottom part of the house. So it's even prettier in person. I think that's why we love to go to quilt shops so much and see samples up on the wall, or if you're a cross stitcher, when you go to a store and actually see the piece stitched out, you're done, you know. I mean, it just draws you in and you want to purchase that pattern right away. And quilts are the same way. I mean, when you see them in person, hopefully it's coming through on the camera, but when you're actually working with the fabrics and seeing the piecing and seeing the whole thing come together, it is just beautiful. I'm just loving it. So fun. Everybody else has probably moved on to other things, but I'm just going to set this right up here. Let it be my backdrop for today. Yeah, that's a little prettier than staring at those leaders, right? So I'll just put that right there and put my board over here. So that's what I have worked on this week. Not a ton. I'm trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done before we leave on vacation. We're going to be gone for a few days, and so I've just really been concentrating on my long arming and trying to get all of that caught up as much as I can and ready to go for a couple days of vacation. This weekend is our 34th wedding anniversary, and I was thinking about, I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I thought maybe in this weekend's newsletter I would share some of our wedding photos. That's a little scary, isn't it? You know, but not that I'm ashamed of them. It's just like, oh my goodness, the hair, the outfits, you know. I loved our wedding. Our wedding was done black and white. The bridesmaids were in black and white, like black velvet and sateen skirt, and I just love it. It felt so formal and just so classy. I just really loved it. My bouquet was all white flowers and just, you know, the candlelight and the white lights, and my husband was in white, I was in white. The best man, the groomsmen, man, I'm gonna have to go back and look at pictures. That's terrible. I think they had black pants and then the white jacket. Is that right? Oh my goodness, I cannot remember. That's terrible. So I'm going to get those pictures out, and it may not be the best quality because I'm going to have to take a picture of a picture and put those in my newsletter this weekend. So if you want to see a throwback to the early 90s and see our wedding 34 years ago, you'll want to subscribe to my newsletter that comes out every weekend. Not only do I share stuff about what's going on here at home, but I always share the things that I've shared on my videos this past week as well. So customer quilts, whatever I've been working on, that all goes in the newsletter. I link as many things as I can, so it's an easy click just for you to go from there straight to that product, that pattern, the fabric, whatever it is that's caught your eye. Some of those are affiliate links, which just means that I get a little bit of a kickback. It doesn't cost you anymore. The company's just rewarding me a little bit for sending you their way. So hope you don't mind that. Let me share something else that arrived. I'm a little late in this because we're already into March, but my February sampler box came. This one was a great one. Oh my goodness. I love it, love it, love it. But unfortunately it's already gone. So if I'd have gotten this out to you, you know, last week, I guess, then you would have maybe had a chance to get in on the box, but sorry, so sorry it's sold out. But you can get some of these products, so you just can't get it all together in the box. So what does it say? Cut to the good stuff. That's what the theme of the February box was, and the coupons on the back give you a hint of the fabric that's inside, and they're Lori Holt coupons. So, oh my goodness. And I had not opened my box. Man, when did it arrive? Over a week ago, and I was on a Stitch and Share with my Quilt Circle group. So Stitch and Share is where we just get together over Zoom or in our circle group, and we just work on whatever, cross stitch, quilting, whatever we're doing. We just sit and talk. And somebody mentioned, you know, oh, the sampler box was so great this time. And I'm like, mine was sitting behind me. I hadn't opened it yet, so I'm going to have to open it. And oh my goodness, were they right. It was wonderful. So let me just share. There is a 10-inch stacker of Lori Holt's Peace and Plenty line. Oh, I don't have any of this one. So imagine that. I don't know. I had not purchased any of her Peace and Plenty line, so I am loving this. Oh my goodness. I love the fabrics. I'm not going to unroll it. I'll link it down below so you can see all the fabrics, but I just think this is so pretty just the way it is. But Peace and Plenty, she does have a current quilt along going on with this one. It is her flower basket sampler, and that's what she's doing. I'll link her blog down below if you're interested in Lori Holt. So this is a free sew along guide. This tells you all your fabric requirements, tells you how to cut all your fabrics, but you will need to purchase, and this is free. I think I just said that. But you'll need the Sew Simple shapes to do this. This is one of Lori's applique quilts. So the flowers, and I'm sure the handle is done with, of the baskets is done with her, with the bias tape makers. And I know she has a YouTube video of doing one of the first blocks. So you can go to her blog, and that's the first thing that pops up right now. So this is a current quilt along. Actually, it is finishing next week. I did see on, maybe it was on her blog post or maybe it was on Instagram, that she had posted her pinwheel blocks, and then March 10th of next week, Monday of next week, is the big finish on this one. So you'll want to get in on that one soon. I'm sure it'll be available for a while. All of her stuff is still on her blog. But the Peace and Plenty line, so in here is a little smaller than what you can purchase. This has 24 10-inch squares in it. If you purchase this from Fat Quarter Shop, it does come with all 42 prints from the Peace and Plenty line. But I'll get in a little close so you can see. I just don't want to take it apart because it's just so pretty. Like that darker red, and that's more of a, I mean, it's a hint towards cross stitch. You can see the design, but the color of it's a little darker than I've seen Lori use on some others. Maybe, like, let me look at, oh. So, see, it's even a little different red than the red on that door that was used in that Christmas line. So more of a muted red, and I like that. I like that. I like the stitching. And then there's some cross stitch also, some cursive motifs in that. Ooh, I like the yellow. Very pretty. Just makes me think of spring. And if, you know, we're kind of going back and forth right now with our weather. One day it's, you know, 60s and the next day it's 30s. And that's why I have a sweater on today, because today's one of those days that's dropping into the 30s. But this just makes me feel like spring. Makes me feel like getting out in the garden, and yeah, especially purple. I'm not a big purple fan, but when those purple flowers start popping through in the springtime, I'm happy about that. So another purple like that one. That would make a great, I don't know if it's available as a wide backing or not, but that would make a great backing. Even the small enough design on that would be great for the back of cross stitch pieces, little pillows or things that you might be finishing up for Easter or springtime. That would be a great fabric for the back of that one. And then the pink, and there's a gray, another pink, and the green. I feel like I'm peeling down an ice cream cone or something. I like that one too. That'd be a great backing for a quilt. And even that one, different colorway, but the same design. Like the small motifs on that one. Ooh, pretty, pretty. Yeah, these smaller prints be great for the back of cross stitch projects. Pillows and things. And the gray. So these fabrics make great projects that you put all together, a whole curated thing, like I'm going to show you the pattern. But any one of these fabrics can be pulled out and used. That would be a great back of a cross stitch piece too. Ooh, and here's that darker red. But any one of these fabrics can be pulled out and used in something different. You know, just by themselves, they can take on a different design. You know, that could be a little more of a modern type of look. And, you know, with all the others, it takes on more of the prairie Peace and Plenty, I guess, you know, is what the name of the line, but kind of more of a prairie print. But if you pulled that out by itself, you could use that on the back of a more modern quilt as well. So let me flip all those back. I just love these. But you got to see the pattern that's with this too. The finishing kit, there is a finishing kit that Fat Quarter Shop curates to go along with the pattern that is in the Sew Sampler box, and as last time I looked, that was still available. So here is the quilt pattern called Cheerful. This was done by Lori Holt to go along with the line. You can see a little bit of a design there, and then let me show you the back. I just think this is so cute. Oh my goodness. 47 by 59, so a nice lap size quilt. It takes the 10-inch stacker, which has the 24. So if you, you can't get this pattern outside of the Sew Sampler box. Sorry about that. But, you know, say I wanted to make this larger, I could buy another 10-inch stacker. It would have 42, and I could do the same pattern and just figure out my yardage for the others. So a background and an inner border. You do have the cornerstones and the outer border done in that green, and then a backing fabric. And then a binding. So very cute. You could change the color of the border if you didn't like the green. I kind of like the red. That might change it. It feels spring with the green, but you could change it to a different color because that's not included. If you bought the finishing kit, that would be in there. So just love that. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get this one. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let me show you what else is in here. There is a friction pin. I have never used a friction pin, I don't think. So this one, it says it's erasable. There is a an eraser on one tip or on one end of it. So you can mark on your fabrics, say you're doing Lori's sew sampler shapes and you want to draw it instead of cutting, I don't know, because you do draw on the interfacing. So I usually use a lead pencil or something. You could use this. By doing her sew sampler shapes, you don't have to erase anything because those lines are on the inside. But if you're doing something similar to that, some applique where you're needing to draw around and you want those lines to be gone, you can either use the eraser to erase, it says off of paper. Let me find a piece of paper. Let me try this. Okay, we'll just write on the back of this. Okay, there's my marks. And it does. It erases right off. Let me show you. And it erases right off. That was on paper. I don't have a piece of extra fabric around. I don't want to do it on this. But it says if you draw on your lines on fabric, then heat from your iron will then erase that marking. So if you're looking for a friction pin, if you have some project where you're needing to mark lines or something, this would be a great one to try. Friction, it's a Pilot pin, and it says erasable, done in black. And I know this is available outside of the Sew Sampler box, so I will link that down below. Let me find my little card here. But obviously with the Sew Sampler box, you're getting all of these products at a discounted price because they're bundling them in the box together. So if you purchase these outside, like, and it always tells you the value. So the 10-inch stacker was a $22 value. The pin is a $3 value. So if you're needing one of those, it's a great place to go. And I gotta show you the next thing. Oh my goodness, I've already taken it out. This was an Olfa cutter. This has the endurance blade in it, so it lasts twice as long, but I love this. Let me show you. First of all, the color is really pretty, but I have not used one of these. So this is the Olfa cutter where all you have to do is squeeze and the blade pops out and you let go. So as soon as you set it down, that blade is covered. Oh my goodness, I have been pulling this out. I have had it out already. Now there is a lock here. There's a little red lock. How do I set the lock? Because I pushed the lock off. Oh, you push it from the other side. Okay, so there's this little red button right here. When I push it, then I'm able to open it. And honestly, right now, I had this in my sewing room, so I left the lock off, but I'm still not, that blade is still not exposed. But little kids could get to this. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to start doing that, especially this. I mean, the little kids aren't allowed in my sewing room anyway, but just the other day when all the grandkids were over, and I have a little bucket of pins and things right next to the couch, and what are they doing? They're reaching for those. But there's also some scissors in there, so those aren't going to have to go up higher. The only reason it's down next to the couch is because we stripped the wallpaper off the kitchen last year, if you remember that. I still don't have it painted, and so we have a phone desk that's in our kitchen, and it's like a stand-up desk. Above that I had a couple shelves, and that's where this bucket of pins was. The shelves are down because we stripped the wallpaper, so the pins are over on the couch, or on the table next to the couch. And I just realized I'm going to have to get them put up. And this is one of those things too. So if you got little kids around, make sure you push the button on the back so that that locks in place and you can't do it. But that button is super simple to push. But what I like is when I set this down, the blade is closed, because this, and I've been using this one down here in my long arm room to trim up quilts. And it's always nice to have a new blade on your rotary cutter. So what I've been using is, I have had this probably 20 years. My blade is kind of loose anyway, so it's not that hard to flip my blade back, but also means that it can slip back pretty easily. And I know there are bad stories out there of cutting yourself. I've not done that. but this could get left on the floor because I do trim up the quilts when I'm down on the floor. So I am liking this. I am going to purchase one for upstairs and have this one for downstairs. This is a 45-inch, or 45-inch, that would be big. The 45mm one. This does come in a couple different colors. There's a darker red, I think this is called coral. I think there's a magenta, which is a darker purplish red. There's a yellow. I do think it comes in a 60-inch as well, this size of design. So really liking that. Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. Again, it's one of those, if I'd seen this, in a store, I probably wouldn't. I think, why do I need a new rotary cutter? I've got several. I'll just use what I have. And then you try something new and you realize, oh my goodness, where's this been? Where have I been? It's not where's that been, because I could have bought it at some point, but I haven't. And so I love that things like that come in the Sew Sampler box so I can try them out. Yes, I love that. And now I'm going to get rid of my others and use that some more. So friction pin, the fabric, the pattern, the cutter, and finally is the last pattern. Let me just show it to you on here. This is block number 11 in the Peaceful Baskets Quilt Along, which means we are this close. And I didn't finish this one this week. I was trying to see what the name of this one was. This one's called Birds in the Air Basket Block. And so this is what it looks like. So it shouldn't be too hard. Looks like half square triangles. So fun. So I will get that done and show that to you when I get it done soon. So, all right, that is the Sew Sampler box. I was so thrilled with it. That is the February box. These products are available outside of the box, so I have linked those down below. So if you're wanting some of that fabric, if you love the rotary cutter like I do, or a friction pin, then you'll want to try out that. The only thing that's not available is the pattern by Lori Holt, but I'm sure you can find some other great patterns to use that fabric line for. Okay, that is all I have to share with you on my personal side today. So let's move on to some customer quilts. I have two quilts that are Carol's that I wanted to share with you today, and this first one I'm just not going to be able to get the whole design in here. Hopefully you looked very closely at the pictures where it had the whole quilt, because I just can't have it laid over here and be able to see the entire reindeer. So this pattern is called Run Run Reindeer. This is done by Mabel Market, and I have linked that one down below. Now what Carol did, she said and I looked this up, the pattern is a wall hanging, and she increased the size so that it became a 57 by 71 quilt. Incredible job, Carol. And I just love it. She's used assorted batiks from her stash for the reindeer in the middle. This gold print, you can see it's there. It's all done in squares. It's all done in squares. So if the original pattern was 1.5 inch squares, let's say, then she's used 5-inch squares, and she's created this whole quilt just by doing that. Incredible idea. She's done a wonderful, wonderful job. So you too can get the pattern and just increase the size of your squares. So all of this negative space, it's one fabric, but it's all done with 5-inch squares. This gold print, she says, is a Benartex fabric, almost like just gold. It's a cream underneath and then like a gold just markings. I don't know how to describe that. Just gold markings on it all over. Really, really cute. Really like that. And I just love the way this looks. A lot of the reds have some gold pops in them. This could be done, done in the reds. It reminds you of Christmas, but this could be done for your favorite hunter and done in, browns and greens or camo. I mean, wouldn't a hunter love that? Even if you change the background fabric to a camo and the deer a different color, I think that would be really cool. I showed this to my son, he might need one. It was really fun. So the backing fabric, this is called Ski Hill. This is a Riley Blake design, so it has the gondolas all going up the side of a hill. You have your evergreen trees, just feels like skiing. Very, very fun. The pantograph on this one, Carol asked for Breeze, and I love this choice. It just feels like the wind is blowing around, a very wintry, blustery feel to the quilt. I really like that. I did use a cream color thread that matches this background fabric very well, but is not too bright on the reds as well. So this Breeze pantograph, it really echoes itself a lot. And so this is fairly big because I just feel like with this pantograph, if you shrunk it down too much, it's going to be very tedious to stitch out because it is so many echoes back and forth and back and forth. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just in this area right here. So if you shrunk that down too much, it's really going to be very tight. I feel like this is really nice coverage, even leaving the pantograph as large as it is, you know, about this size. It does nest in well with the rows above and below it. This is the largest swirl right here, and then you have a smaller one here, a little bit of a paisley idea right here, and then a bigger swirl going, this one goes down, this one comes up, and then that paisley and a little bit of a swirl there. This is one you could do if you are hand guided as well, as long as you leave yourself a lot of room to come in, spiral back out, come to a point, almost like wind, come back in, spiral in. It's not even coming in and touching those other lines, just coming in, stopping to a point, spiral back out. Once you have all that done, then you can go, then this pattern comes in. Oh, I see. As it comes off of this one, it does a little bit of a spiral, then it comes in, does a breeze, you know, a point there, comes back out, does one more, and then it comes in, does a paisley. So practice, practice, practice. Do it on your drawing board, on your, you get a marker board. This is if you're hand guided. If you're digital, then just find this Breeze pantograph. But if you're doing hand guided, my biggest hint would be to buy a marker board about this size, get the dry erase markers and hold them in your hands like you do your handlebars of your machine, and you practice that design over and over and over, erase it off, practice that design. Once you get that muscle memory in, you kind of learn how to get yourself into a corner, get yourself back out, because with hand guided, that's a skill you've got to learn, because you've only got so much throat space and you've got to be able to fit up with the other designs. So, you know, if you've got a marker board, you learn how to get yourself into a corner, or maybe, you know, leave a little bit of a design across the top of that marker board so that you figure out how to draw into that, you know, and make it look cohesive, and then, you know, spin yourself back out. So practice on a marker board. Once you get that muscle memory, then pull out some fabric and just, you know, some scraps. A lot of times when we're talking about hand guided, but it just popped in my mind, when I'm wanting to test tension on my machines before starting on a customer quilt, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just cut a strip of a wide backing, and, you know, just, you know, 12 inches or so, a wide backing, because I already have enough fabric that I can reach from the back bar all the way to the front bar. I usually just pin it onto that back bar, drape it through. You want it to follow the same path as you do for your regular quilt, but I just pin it across the top of that back bar, slide it underneath between these two bars, and then I again pin it on the front, and then I will stick a little bit of scrap batting in between there and practice my on my tension before stitching onto a customer quilt. So I like the wide backings. You know, sometimes I use scrap fabric, but sometimes it's like you got a piece of this and a piece of this, and it's not quite long enough or not quite wide enough. So I really like just using a 12-inch strip of a wide backing and It's very quick, and then I could just put in a scrap piece of batting in there. But you can do the same thing if you're wanting to practice hand-guided work. You could even do it the long ways, maybe a little bit longer and or a little bit wider, meaning a wide back, but do it, keep it doubled up and use it a lot wider piece, and then stick some practice batting in there, and you've got something to practice on. So just some hints there, but really love Carol's first quilt. I love the Breeze pantograph, and the reindeer is so cute, so you'll want to check out that pattern. And Carol's second quilt is called Santa in the Trees. Is this not adorable also? So two festive quilts right here together. She said this one, the pattern designer is Cynthia Muir of Ahhh Quilting, and I've linked that down below for you. She said the trees, she used her sister's stash. That's a kind sister. And then I'll show you the backing in just a minute. She said she bought this pattern at the Yakima Quilt Show before I bought fabric and a sewing machine. So that's inspiration. If you want to do, if you want to get into quilting, go buy your pattern first. So the trees, all different greens, so cute. They probably do use a special ruler. I'm not exactly sure. I've not seen the pattern. But it is that 30-60 degree angle right there. All of the, no, it looks like the tree trunks are all different browns in there also. For the Santa, she's used scrapped reds, and this feels like a little bit of a woolly type fabric. I was a little concerned when I first saw the quilt, like, oh, I don't want to mess up my tension. It really stitched out very nicely. I didn't have any trouble. You could use flannel here for this. It's just a little puffier. It looks like the Santa's eyes are drawn on. The nose is a little pink piece of fabric that is appliqued on. The Santa is appliqued, the belt, everything of the Santa, the shoes, all of it is appliqué. He's even got a little ball on the top of his hat right there. All of the trees are pieced, but this Santa piece is an appliqué, and he's got the fur around the bottom of his coat, also his beard, his hat, the top and the bottom of his hat. So really cute there. The backing fabric on this one, she used two different fabrics. This, the green print is from the Pine Valley line. This was done by Basic Gray for Moda. So the large part of this, she did add in a couple on extras on the sides where she has used the red from Starberry, and that is done by Yoder for Moda as well. Let me fix that and I'll be right back. All right, I wanted this up high enough that you could see the Santa, but now it's kind of fallen off my back bar, not real sturdy right there. So the pantograph on this one is called Tree Doodles, and I did this in the Omni Natural White color. So Tree Doodles, and it's probably going to fall off there again, but I just need to bring this in so you can see. So you think you can see it pretty well on this green tree right here, the white, hopefully the white thread shows up there. So Tree Doodles, it almost feels like a bed spring is what it looks like. So comes in and it's just doing swirls around, smaller as it gets to the top, and then puts the 5-pointed star like we did when we were kids. I still do, at the top, and then this is stitching out this way, but I'm in the corner of the quilt. So it just does a loop over here and then does the same design but the opposite direction. So this pantograph can be used no matter which way your quilt is. Obviously this is directional, so some of the trees are looking, like right side up, and some of them are upside down. If you had a quilt that it wasn't a directional quilt, this would look nice on it as well, because the pantograph can be viewed from either direction. So I did only make these, they're like 2/3 of the size of this Christmas tree. A lot of times when I am sizing up a pantograph, I do not want my pantograph to be the same size as the blocks in the quilt. I want either smaller or larger, because I want, and usually it's smaller unless they're just really tiny pieces. So in this one, I don't want my swirly trees to be the same size as these trees. It's really about 2/3 of the size is what it is. And a lot of times on other quilts that's the same way. If I've got a border across the top that's a 3-inch border, I don't want to make my pantograph 3 inches tall. I want to do it in that instance maybe a little bigger, maybe make it a 4-inch one, because I want things to overlap. I don't want them to, because I'm doing an overall pattern, I don't want something that on part of the quilt looks like it fits perfectly within that border. On another part of the quilt it looks like it's messed up. You know, I want an overall design, so I don't typically choose a pantograph, or I shrink the pantograph or enlarge the pantograph. I rarely enlarge pantograph. I usually shrink a pantograph so that it's about 2/3 of the size of whatever the border is or the blocks are, and that will help you with your sizing. Now the Breeze one that I showed you right before this one, that one was much bigger, and that's the way that design pulls in. Those 5-inch squares on that one were only this big, so that Breeze pantograph worked really nicely over the top of all those 5-inch squares. So that's kind of a you know, that's kind of a hint there, I guess. Not really a hint, but just a kind of to help you sizing a pantograph, and to help kind of get an idea, just so it looks nice on your quilt. And that's just what I do. Others may do it differently, but that's kind of my philosophy at looking at a quilt. If you want to say, I don't want to make the size of the pantograph the same size as the blocks in the quilt. So, all right, natural white thread. I think I mentioned that already, and just think this is a super cute quilt. Carol did a great job. Annette sent me 4 lovely quilts, and I can't wait to share them with you today. So this first one is a Robin Pickens pattern. This is called Mod Flower Box, and this measures, I printed out the back of the pattern, so let me grab that real quick. And I have linked this down below. It is on Robin Pickens' website. So Mod Flower Box, this one measures 51 by 51, but the pattern also shows you a way that you can create 4 of these and rotate it a quarter way each time, and then you get a full 78 by 78 quilt. And let me show you what that one looks like, if you can see right there. Isn't that pretty? I like how she didn't just face everything. And so what happens, let me show you. So these leaves right here, when you rotate the quilt a quarter of the way each time, those leaves stay in the middle, but they're offset just a little bit, and then that makes the other modern flowers that are in the quilt so it's not just a mirror image all the way around. It's a really neat design. I'm not a big modern fan, but I love good quilting. I love good piecing, and I love good patterns that show you a different way to use it and isn't just the same old thing over and over again. I really like thinking outside the box, I guess. I really like it when designers do that. And so I'm the fabric line. She said this is Floribunda. This is done by Moda. So floral prints, kind of a watercolory type of feel. There are some solids that look more of a grungy solids. And then the floral prints, I like how each flower has a range of floral prints. You can see in the center circle here, some pinks and yellows and the darker red, and then the florals are all different florals, just very, very pretty. The leaves are different designs. You've got some greens that are more of the grungy type of green, but then some watercolor type of designs. This one is almost it's like spirals with little tick lines all the way around it. The background fabric that you see is a grungy darker blue, and then the border almost a black. It's like a midnight blue. It's almost a black, but not quite. It has some black with little bits of like this color blue inside of it. So very, very cute. Now I'm trying to see, I do not believe this is applique, and maybe the pattern tells me. It says pre-cut friendly for charm packs, layer cakes, fat quarters, fat eighths or fat quarters. It doesn't say that it is curved corners backgrounds. The thatched version is made with darker corners of background fabric for the curves to box in the shapes. So I think it's some traditional piecing. It's not applique, and it's not foundation paper or anything like that. It's some traditional piecing on that. So very, very nice. Annette's done just a wonderful job on it. The background fabric that she did use is more of a black, more of a solid black compared to the borders there. And then I think you can see the pantograph pretty well on either side. The pantograph, this is done by Barbie Mills of the Quilting Mill, and this is called Skating Rink Carpet. And I love that design. If you grew up in the 70s going to skating rinks, you understand this carpet, or this design perfectly, what it would look like on carpet. So very angular boxes, rectangles, they do overlap and interweave and all of that. So a great design to stitch out, because your lines all cross over each other anyway, so not much that you can do wrong with this one. And I did this one in medium gray. Let me grab my threads so I can show you. All right, so I grabbed my gray threads. This is medium gray, and this is light gray. Now, the next quilt I'm going to show you, I used the light gray on, but did the same pantograph, and I want to show you why I switched colors here. So this is the medium gray. You can see with the darker background that a lighter gray is going to read almost like a cream color on those darker backgrounds. Now with the medium gray, I like the medium gray for this quilt because it's a little darker on these dark fabrics than the light gray is, but it still reads as light. But it's not going to be so dark on these on the florals. It's just a good blend between the darker fabrics and the brighter fabrics, where if I go lighter, then I'm very light on the dark fabrics, and may blend in better with the brighter ones. If I even go to the next darker, there is a dark gray, then you're going to blend in with the darker fabrics but be very dark on the lighter fabrics. So I really like to go with the medium, and then we're kind of we're stretching between the two. We're a little lighter on the dark fabrics, a little darker on the lighter fabrics, but it's a good blend. So that is the medium gray 3024 in the Omni, and I really like that one. So I did make this fairly tight. Now Annette said this is going to be for a wall hanging, this one and the next one, and she asked whether we should use 2 layers of batting in it. My experience is if you do some tight quilting, some denser quilting, I really don't feel like you need 2 layers. 2 layers is going to give you more of a puffiness, and I understand what she was asking. It's like, is it going to be stiff enough to hang on the wall? But my experience is if you do a dense pantograph, then you're going to get and a wall hanging usually isn't washed that often, where it's going to get softer and softer. So this will keep its crispness. The density is going to keep it straight on the wall. If she puts a nice hanging sleeve on the back, that's going to work really well. But so we only used 1 layer of batting in this one. We did use 80/20. And I think that's a good one for doing wall hangings, and that works really well. So just 1 layer of batting in there, and this is a wall hanging. So very nice, Annette. Annette's second quilt is also a wall hanging. This one's a little larger. This one is done with a center panel, and you can see that the panel is a tree with the leaves on there, the brighter colors, the purples and pinks and aquas, and those colors. And then around the panel, she's done a lighter color border, and then she's done these multicolored flying geese units. Really pleasing pattern. So a great way to dress. I mean, this panel is very busy and very nice anyway, but she's done a really nice job of not just adding borders, but again, doing something a little bit outside the box. The flying geese units are on the bottom right and they're on the top left. You don't have them in the other corners. The colors that she's used are very nice. She's done some of the bright prints that are very similar to the leaves on the center of the tree. I don't have a name for this pattern. If Annette gets that to me, then I will link it down below. But otherwise, it's just some multi-layers or multi-lines of flying geese units. So I'm sure what she did is she put these fabrics together first, the green, the yellow, kind of a greenish yellow, the blue, and then you can see it goes in that that order for every one of them. And then she's got a rectangle of that. Then she's made her flying geese units. Does that make sense? I hope that hope I'm making sense there. But look how nice she did of lining those all up, keeping everything straight. Just very, very, very nice. Really like it. The background fabric that she's used, as well as the backing fabric, this is primitive muslin, designed by Primitive Gatherings, and this is in the tallow colorway, and this is a wide backing, and I like this. It's got a slickier feel. It's cotton, but it's just got a cool feel to it. I've really enjoyed working with that primitive muslin. So the pantograph is the same one that we used on the smaller wall hanging. We just decided to keep the same design. I did make this one, the last one I made it 4 inches tall. This one I did make 5 inches tall. This design is a little bigger. The panel's a little bigger. Just the scale of this quilt is a little bigger. So I'm still getting really nice coverage. I just increased the pantograph size just a tad bit, just so that it blended better with the size of this quilt. And then you can see on the sides, you can see that design fills in that negative space very nicely. Now this is the same pantograph, but on this one I used the light gray. And I went back and forth with this one for a while because Annette said she wanted something that would match the pantograph or the panel in the middle. But if I would have gone too much, this is the medium gray. The medium gray might have been blended better with the panel, but if I put the medium gray out here on this primitive muslin, it was going to be, I just felt it was going to be very, very dark, and it was going to take away from the lighter color of the background fabric. So for this one, I chose the light gray color. And I like the way it blended with this. Gray is a little bit a different color than is on the background fabric, but I felt that gray blended better with the middle here than either using a cream or using a tan, because this is the focal point of the quilt. And so I felt that the gray blended much better with that than a tan or a cream, where a tan or a cream might have blended better with this part, but this is secondary. The main part of this quilt is this pantograph, or is this panel right here in the middle. So that's what I was matching the thread color to. But again, trying to get something that was going to balance between the darker parts in the middle and the lighter parts around the outside. So then on the backing, I did use the light gray bobbins in there. So it adds tons of texture. You are seeing that gray. But again, it's the backing, and you're just seeing a lot, that whole texture. You're almost getting like a whole cloth quilt on the back of this because of the colored thread on the back. But I really wanted to make sure that this center panel was the highlight, and not to detract from that by using something that would have blended better with the sides. So that was my thinking in that. That's why I went with the light gray, and that is 3023 in the Omni light gray. So very, very nice. I love this quilt. And Annette's third small wall hanging is a fall one, and I just think this is absolutely darling. This is right up my alley. So this one measures 25 by 25, and this is a pattern by Sandy Gervais. So if you're familiar with Riley Blake, they've done this Follow the Bluebird, and I don't know if it's still going on. I know it's been done in years past, but they put out a bluebird pattern. I have printed out here, this is a free pattern. I printed out the pieced bluebird block. There are also a paper pieced version, and then there is an applique version. So then what they ask their designers to do is to create a project using this bird pattern, and then they publish those on their each of their blogs. So I have linked this pattern down below. I've linked the page that has all three of the bird designs. So if you're wanting to put a bluebird, but notice what this one does. Sandy Gervais changed it. Instead of a bluebird, she's made it into what I would call a crow, because maybe not the body shape, but at least the colors of it. So she created this project and she called it Fall Y'all. This is done by Sandy Gervais. This is back in 2021. Again, this is a free pattern, and this is on Sandy Gervais' blog, which is called Pieces from My Heart. And you can see the lighter colorways. Perhaps you're one that likes a little brighter oranges and fall colors. And then Annette has chosen these darker oranges, and I love it. I'm not sure what the fabric line is. It may be just things from her stash. I really don't know. I love, love, love the darker orange. I just really love it. It's got a hint of yellow in there, but the darker orange is just melts my heart. It's just more my colorway. I really like it. It almost looks like a thatched, but not quite. I don't think it's a thatched print by Robin Pickens, but it could be just something that she had in her stash. So 2 pumpkins, you've got 4 stars up here. She's done some leaf prints in 3 of the 4 stars. This one is just green. I like this. These are pretty small pieces. That little corner squares right here are probably only 1.5 inches finished, and then your flying geese units as well. And then here is her bluebird pattern, but she's changed it to the black. So the black with the gold, the brownish gold beak and wing, the little legs. I just think this is so cute. I just love it, love it, love it. The backing fabric she chose, this one is called, I just had this here a second ago, Crabapple. I've linked it down below. This is a Deb Strain pattern or a fabric, and this is called Crabapple Farm, I want to say. I wasn't able to find a link for it, but you might be able to find it somewhere. So really nice. It's got like these wheat stalks is what it reminds me of, just the very top of the straw or the wheat, and very pleasant, very nice for a backing fabric. Just a small scale. This would be great on the back of fall cross-stitch projects if you're making little pillows or something like that. So for the pantograph, I sent her several different fall type themed ones. One being squared, and if you remember squared, it kind of it looks like the wishbone, but it's squared off, so you get the squares. And I liked that one, and if that was the only thing I was doing for Annette in this series of quilts, I probably would have used that one. But because I had just done the skating rink carpet one on the last 2 wall hangings, and the squared pantograph and that one, kind of a similar look in some ways. And so I just decided, let's do something different. So, and I sent her several choices, and Annette said, really, whatever you prefer would be great with me. So I went with ground cover. Ground cover looks like leaves that have fallen off the trees, and they're just laying scattered on your lawn in the fall time. So this is one that you can practice and do freehand if you're doing hand-guided designs on quilts. If you're a hand-guided long-arm quilter, this is one you can practice over and over. This is a design that I did prior to getting the Pro Stitcher on mine. So it's one that easily you can get into corners and get back out, and a great overall pattern. It's the same muscle movement. Once you figure out the muscle movement, practice it on your marker board. You know, with your marker in your hand like this, because that's the way you're holding your handlebars of your machine, and just practice that design over and over and over on your marker board. Erase it off and try it again. So a leaf, it comes into a point, and goes back down. Where can you see it the best? Maybe on the white color here. So you come in, your leaf comes in to a point, goes back down. Nothing is really touching. They're just that shape. And then you echo that out again, and then you do it a third time. And then you move yourself to another part. And then as you come off of that one, then you do the same. So your leaves are faced different directions. You're building on top of one another, and you just echo to get to the next spot. You do your design. You can start on the outside and go in, or you can start on the inside and go out. Sometimes you may do one, sometimes you may do the other, just depending on how much space you have. But a great overall pattern. Great overall pattern. For the thread color on this one, I did choose 3007. Here is the color of this one. Kind of if I just hold it up like that, it may look cream, but here's the cream next to it. So you can see a little bit of a difference there. And this one, I just decided that this color blended better. This backing fabric, it is a tone on tone. It's a little darker than just a normal cream. And then it wasn't so bright on those dark orange colors there. Here's the cream color one. This would have worked if all you have is cream. This would be my choice, but I felt like it was a little lighter on those dark oranges, and I just really wanted the quilting just to blend into those dark oranges. And with the color of this 3007, I don't have a name on it, but 3007, with the color of that one, it really does blend and add lots of texture to this background fabric, but then isn't super bright on that. So that is just a difference between just a tad bit darker, and really like that one. So just love this one. This is so cute, and Annette's going to be all ready for fall. And Annette's fourth quilt is a large one. The last three have all been wall hangings. This one is a full-size quilt, not a full size. This is more of a throw size. It measures 60 by 72. This is the Joy-Filled pattern by Yoder of Coriander Quilts. And I failed to mention earlier, Annette is part of my Quilt Circle membership, and this is the quilt along that we did late last year. So if you remember, I did mine all in the primitive gatherings, the red, white, and blue. I've got a couple months before Memorial Day, so I need to get mine quilted. Mine's all put together. But I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, if you've not been a part of a quilt along, it's one of my favorite things. And before doing the Quilt Circle membership, I had not done a quilt along with anyone. And I have so enjoyed a quilt along where everybody's picking their own fabrics in their own personality and style, and then that comes out in their quilts, and I just absolutely love it. So this fabric line is Feed My Soul by Sandy Gervais. I like this line. I really like this line. So you have some greens, you have some aquas, you've got some reds, some blues. It's a floral, and let me show you the backing because that kind of pulls in all the colors. This is what they call the cream, the main yardage of this line, and that is what Annette has put on the back, but that kind of sums up the whole line together. You've got some of the peachy, pinkish colors, you've got some of the greens, but then also the aquas and then the reds, a little bit of darker blues, and you can see that in all of these prints here. This pattern is written for a fat 1/8 bundle, and then some background fabric. So her background fabric is just a solid white, maybe a Kona solid or a Bella solid, something like that. And then all of the blocks that you see, and so fun. So all the different blocks. I like this quilt because all the stars, but everything's different shapes, different sizes. I like that it's not just a grid pattern, but you've got small blocks fitting in next to large blocks. You have some blocks that are done several times, like the stars that you're seeing up there. I think we made maybe 6 or 8 of those. A couple of the blocks you're only making 2, some of them you're only making 1. But it was just a lot of fun, just really love seeing everybody's fabric choices. And then to finish off, there is a border around the whole outside, and that is all squares using your leftovers from the fat eights. So all of your prints that are in the center of the quilt are then repeated on the outside edge, and really nice. Really like that. So for the pantograph, Annette chose the cottonwood, and cottonwood is done by Julie Hurt. And she is on Etsy, and I'll link that down below. She said, I love the simplicity, but the texture that this creates, and I do too. I just really love it. Love the filling in the negative space, the white fabrics, and with the colors of this, you know, that's what you're going to see first. And then when you get in close, you can see this pantograph choice. I did use the Omni Natural White. All the background fabric is the white, and that just keeps it bright and blends really nicely with the background fabric. This does stitch 2 rows at a time, which I like. They're offset just a tad bit. But by doing 2 rows at a time, that means that when you do your next pass, it's the exact same as the one you just did. Where sometimes if you have a pantograph that only does 1 row at a time and you offset it, then realigning can be tricky sometimes, because this row is different than this row. And then this one's going to be, it's like 1, 3, 5. It's like your odd rows are the same and your even rows are the same. With this one, because it stitches out 2 rows at a time and those are offset, when you do a pass, every pass is the same. So lining it up is much easier when you come back the next day if you can't quite get it finished in one evening. When you start back the next day, it doesn't matter which start point you start on, because every row is the same. And that's something you do need to watch if your rows alternate, that you're lining up the correct row with what you've already done. So very nice. 6-petaled flower, cottonwood. I just really like this one. All right, those are Annette's 4 quilts. This is Carol's gift to her son, and so don't tell him. This pattern is called Patriotic Pride. The quilt measures 42 by 58. Now, Patriotic Pride is a Fabric Café pattern. This is a PDF download, so you can purchase it on Fabric Cafe's website and then download it. So Patriotic Pride, and what I like about their patterns is, so they give you lots of different colorways, and if you go to if you click on the link down below, it'll take you to the pattern, and it shows you the same quilt done in lots of different colorways, and it helps us think outside of just the colors that are on you know, Patriotic Pride. You think it has to be red, white, and blue. And while she did that, and we'll talk about what she did a little different here, but they've got lots of other options. You can see it done in bright yellows and greens. It's done in reds and greens. This one's yellows and blues. I said yellows and greens, but lots of different colorways, so it gives you some great ideas. So this uses 3 coordinating fabrics of 3 1-yard cuts, just like most Fabric Cafe, and then you need 3 yards of backing fabric. So you have 1 solid block, and then you have a block that has the star, and then the block that has the stripes. So the fabric that she's used is muscle cars, American muscle cars, and I love it that they are red, white, and blue. They have on the hood of this one, it has the American flag, so cute. The red fabric does have little tiny white stars. She says that's a Moda print. This blue that she picked, she called it Tire Tracks, but this is actually a print from Prairie Days by Bunny Hill Designs. So really cute. So you can pull those fabrics out away from the others and use it in a totally different quilt. And it's really cute though. She calls it Tire Tracks, and that's exactly what it looks like. So, and then she's done a small border around the edge in the blue Tire Tracks, and then a very small border with the muscle cars around the edge too. Now she did orient that border very smart. She did the border so across the top. What I mean is the fabrics are oriented the correct way. Even this all the way down the side, the cars are straight. you know, like you'd be looking at them. Across the bottom, across the top, it's like this quilt is just set on top of another piece of fabric and you're seeing just the edges around it. So the backing fabric, this is really cute too. I like how she broke up the back by doing this piece across the middle. Again, all muscle cars. She called this one, no, I don't know that she told me this one. This down here, DK Teal is what she says is on the backing. Now this blue, very fun. This is like, I don't know if I can get in close enough that you can see. So it's a dark blue fabric and then it's got black, like a tone on tone, where we'd have a white tone on tone or a cream tone on tone. This is like the black is on top of the blue, so it's very subtle. You do have to get in close to see it, but it's got tires and trash cans and tools and hubs and mufflers and things I don't have any idea what they are. But so cute, really nice. I like that she broke up that dark print by putting another fun muscle car print on the back there. So for the pantograph, this is diagonal plaid bias cut, and I love this pantograph. It just works so well, it just adds tons of texture. I think it's great on a masculine quilt. And here's what that printout looks like. Nest in well, you can see that with the red at the top and at the bottom. It nests in well with the rose underneath. This can be very large, it can be very small. This one I'd say about, the squares are about, the inner one maybe 2 inches, 3 inches or so, 2.5, 3 inches tall is what one of these squares is. So you can see even with it much smaller, it's a nice design. You can get a lot of good texture. If you're someone that doesn't like really tight designs, this one works well too. Just make sure that whatever size you use, I mean, you could make these, you know, the squares this big. Just make sure that you can fit that pass. This is actually 2 passes, if I'm not mistaken. So the zigzag is how it prints, is how it stitches out, and then this one would be the one underneath it. So there's 2 passes there. But even if you make this much larger, just make, which you could do, you could get lots of good texture, but you're going to get lots of open space if that's what you like. Just make sure that you can fit that within your throat space. That's one thing you got to make sure when you enlarge a pattern, make sure it's going to fit within whatever throat space you have. You don't want to run out. And especially because it's going to, they're nesting up into each other. So even if I can get this throat space, I need to make sure that I can get up close enough, you know, to stitch it out without hitting the bars or anything. So great pattern. It can be used on so many things. T-shirt quilts I mention a lot is what I use it on, but especially masculine quilts, I think it just adds a lot without, you know, making it too busy, too frilly, too anything. Just adds some texture and really lets the quilt shine, especially when you have, you know, a themed fabric like this. It just really just adds your texture to it. So really, really nice. The thread color I did use on this one is the medium gray. I like the medium gray, especially with that darker on the back, because even on the darker it reads a little lighter there. Medium gray just really blends in nicely. It doesn't stand out too much. A light gray might have been too light on this one because it would have read a little bit more of a creamy or a white color. So the gray works really, really nicely on quilts that have this color because it just blends in so well. And then you're really seeing the muscle cars, your stars, your design, and all of that. So great work, Carol. Just love it. I hope you found something to inspire you today. We had a little bit of everything this time, didn't we? Some holiday quilts, some fall things, some wall hanging, some larger quilts. You got a little bit of everything in there, all just absolutely beautiful, and love them all. So I hope you will join me next week because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.